Very personal subject for me today. I want to talk about faith and religion. So, I recently had somebody tell me that I am a stand up guy, I'm a great father, great businessman, I'm a badass, like I do all these things. And the only thing that I'm missing is God in my life, right? Like truly believing. And I'm conflicted about that because I've had my journey, I've had my experiences. And while I don't discredit religion to the extent that, I was born and raised in it, even though I'm not quite there anymore, like it did help define the type of person that I am today. So I want to get into that in today's episode. Welcome to the Legacy Builders podcast. I'm your host, Mario Gonzalez Jr. And if you're looking to build something bigger than yourself, then you're definitely in the right place. I know a lot of folks who are religious or have faith, sometimes maybe even blind faith. And I have no issues with that, right? As long as you don't try and shove it down my throat. That's kind of where I lose any sort of appreciation for it. I honestly feel like it has to be me or for you, right? For anybody, you have to really want something in order to change, and that goes for alcoholics or just people who live a life of abuse, right? Like you have to want to make the change, and so the short of it is, I was born and raised Catholic. Did my first communion, did Bible studies. I would go to church every Sunday, pray with the family, do all those things. At some point, I met my high school sweetheart, and I converted to Christianity for her. And I knew in my heart that I wasn't really doing it for myself. I was doing it to impress her, which is probably my first mistake. Okay. Now, at that time, I truly believed. I had blind faith. Like I prayed, I did all of those things. So I at least had that going for me. And then her and I broke up. I still continued to go to church. I joined the church choir. Like I was very, very strict with my religion. It was part of my routine. It was part of who I was. And then at some point, I started asking questions like, well, a horrible person that kidnaps kids and is abusive and does all these things, as long as they believe, they can repent and their sins are forgiven and they still get to go to heaven. But I myself, who have good morals, I don't do those things. But I don't believe, that means I'm going to hell, or I'm going to be turned away from heaven. I'm like, make that make sense to me. And I can never get a clear answer. So I'm a good dude, but I can't go because I don't believe, or I don't have blind faith. But the dude next to me, who is this horrible person, did all of these things, repents, and then all of a sudden he gets the golden ticket. That was like one of the questions that I could never get around. I could never get past. Nobody could ever answer for me. And I would just hear, well, you just have to believe. And so from that point on, I think it was just downhill for me. I refused to take an answer that didn't logically make sense. And so I started following, the YouTube atheist channels, and I wasn't a militant atheist. I would say agnostic. And it got to the point where I would try and debate people to prove them wrong, and then catch them in their little, you just have to believe moments. And be like, no, that doesn't make sense. In that part, I regret, because if it makes sense for somebody and it helps them, then good for them. But for me, it just started feeling like a crutch. Okay. And then every time I would pray and I would ask for help and I would ask for guidance, I didn't feel like I got it. And it wasn't until I started taking the action myself, meaning like I stopped praying for strength, and I was like, man, screw this. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to lift weights. The money, stop asking for money and help with money. I'm like, I'm going to go get 2 or 3 jobs and like do all of these things. So I started doing all of these things for myself and stopped relying on help. Once I started doing that, I felt this fundamental shift, like, oh shit, it's all on me. It's probably been all on me this whole time. And that was kind of the switch. And from that point, I was like, you know what? I don't need God. I'm good on my own. I can do things on my own, handle everything on my own. I'm going to start relying on help. And it doesn't help that I saw a lot of folks in my life who would pray and just, I felt like they would use religion or faith or God as a crutch when they were depressed or down or whatever. Like, everything's in God's hands. I'm like, no, man, everything's in your hands. You can't control everything that happens, but you can control how you react to it, right? And fast forward a little bit, I started going to this group called F3. Their credo is fitness, faith, and fellowship. And at the end, you would pray. And there was this one guy named Hooch who would always say, you know, you don't have to subscribe to a religion, but we just want you to believe in something bigger than yourself. And that kind of clicked. And I was like, okay, I can see that, right? I can understand that there's probably something bigger than myself. I don't know if I call it God. I don't know what I call it, but there's something out there bigger than me to have created the universe and all the stars aligned and like and whatever. Okay. So that's kind of where I'm at right now is I believe in something bigger than myself. And yesterday or a few days ago, I had a friend call me again and say that, you know, I have all these things going for me, but if I had God on my side, then I would be unstoppable. And I didn't argue, I was listening, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I know a lot of people right now who are religious and they pray and they go to church and they're struggling, man. Like they're trying to figure out how to pay bills and they have all this stress and they're dealing with all this shit. And I'm like, I don't fundamentally see the point because I'm in the same shit that you are. You know, you tell me like, hey, pray and have faith and do all these things, but it's like we're in the same space. Why am I going to not waste my time, but spend additional time praying to an entity or doing these things when I'm not going to be in any better of a spot than I am now? And the way my friend broke it down was, hey, you go to the gym, you take supplements, you listen to audio, like podcasts, you take care of yourself mentally, you do all these things. Why do you take supplements? And I'm like, to supplement the nutrition that I'm not getting with regular food. And so basically what she was trying to say is that's what religion is, right? You're supplementing your heart or your soul or your mindset. And I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense in a way. And I've just really been thinking about that lately because religion, at least organized religion, I don't buy into. Okay. I, from time to time, will still pray. I don't see anything wrong. Man, I'm kind of twisting my words now. I don't think I need to go to church and sing and worship and do all those things. I personally feel at this point in my life, as long as I talk to God from time to time and, you know, God or whatever you want to call it knows that I'm a good person, then I'm good. Morally, I'm a good human being. I'm a great human being. I have my faults just like everybody else. It's just I don't see the need to do all of these extra things, if that makes sense. So, and there's times where I'll pray for other folks or just kind of depending where I'm at. So I'm not atheist per se anymore. I've kind of evolved and grown, but it's just been in the back of my mind a lot recently. So I don't know where everybody else is at. I know everybody has their journeys, and that's what life is about, right? It's trying to figure out how to be a better person. And at the end of the day, I strongly believe as long as you're fundamentally, morally a good person, then that's all that matters. That is all that matters. You know, take care of yourself, take care of your body and your mind, and take care of your family and your kids. I think I'd like to touch on religion and kids in maybe a later episode and, you know, raising kids in an environment that's not religious because I've been super conflicted about that. but we'll save it for another day. So thanks for listening. Share this with somebody if you think it's useful, or if you think this story resonates with you. Shoot me a comment. I'd love to know where you're at with that journey. Take it easy.